Hey, so we're here, and today I'm back for video number 2 of Camera Basics. Today's all about ISO. So back to the eyeball analogy, the sensor is just like our eyeballs. Wherever you are, no matter where it's at, outside, inside, in the darkness, in the bright sunlight, your eyes are adjusting to the surrounding light. For example, right now your eyes probably don't feel weird watching this video. Whether you're outside, you're inside, it's nighttime, daytime, your eyes are already adjusted to the surrounding light. But have you ever noticed when you take a nap during the day, when you wake up and you look outside, you can't see crap, but after maybe a minute or two, you're fine, you can see everything and everything's normal? Basically, your eyes had to adjust the sensitivity to the surrounding light at that moment. When you first wake up from the nap, your eyes, they're super sensitive because you were used to darkness. And then as soon as you look outside, it's all super blown out, your eyes hurt because they're so sensitive. And then basically during that minute or two, while they're readjusting and you look outside, your eyes are lowering their sensitivity to that light. So as soon as you look outside where it's super bright, then you can see everything because that sensitivity now went down. So ISO is just that. It's adjusting the sensitivity of the camera sensor to the surrounding light or the light that we're letting in. So this is something else as video operators or video camera operators or just camera operators in general that this is a function that we can control and manipulate to try and get that proper exposure. So back to the last video on shutter speed. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you look at it. I'm trying to make these 3 videos all intertwined with each other to help teach camera basics. But basically back to shutter speed, we know that shutter speed, we can control that to control how long or how short of a duration we are exposing the sensor to the image we are trying to capture. So what happens if we can't expose the sensor long enough through shutter speed? For example, we have a moving object, so you want a faster shutter speed for more crisp image, but it's too dark, so you can't let in enough light for proper exposure. So real world scenario is going to be, say, like photography or doing video for a wedding. You have in the reception, you have a couple dancing. It's very dark and intimate, but in order to capture that, you need to be able to have proper exposure so you can see the couple dancing. What do? So in this case, obviously through shutter speed, we already know for video you want to double your frame rate, and for photography we have movement, so you're going to want to make sure you increase the shutter speed so you can get crisp images. If you're already set in that point but it's too dark and you can't put out lights, then the thing that you can do is raise your ISO. So like I said, ISO is being the sensitivity of the camera sensor. If you have your shutter speed already set, then that means you can increase the ISO until you get that proper exposure, because increasing the ISO is going to increase the sensitivity to light. So the sensor, what it's going to do is grab whatever light is there and increase the sensitivity, and in turn it's basically going to brighten up that image. So be careful though, because while you increase the ISO number, you start introducing grain, artifacts, or noise. All 3 of those refer to the same thing. It's basically when you pump up the ISO number as high as possible, you're gonna start getting little spots and specks and grain all over the image, and that's just because you're getting that sensor as sensitive as possible to whatever light that is there. So always, rule of thumb is to always keep that number as low as possible. No matter what, you want to try and keep that number as low as possible. Like I said, reason being, the higher the number, that means more grain, and more grain means a fuzzier image. And if you have a fuzzy image, all that means is it's not going to look as sharp anymore. It looks like it's basically out of focus, and it paints a picture of bad image quality, or like you don't know what you're doing. You always want to keep the ISO as low as possible so you can keep your image quality as high as possible, and it looks very professional, it looks very nice. But like I said, at the end of the day, if need be, you're in a pinch, you can raise that ISO, and that will bring in more light. If your back is up against the wall and you have nowhere else to go, like you can't bring in extra lights, you can't have someone flash a phone light, whatever the case may be, you can refer to ISO and raise it up. Just be cautious. A pro tip that I highly suggest you guys do, I did it myself with the camera that I'm using, is find your no-go zone for your ISO numbers. Most cameras, I won't say all because I don't know about that for sure, but most cameras, you can put like a hard limit. You can basically put a number that you don't want the camera to allow yourself to go any higher with ISO numbers. I did that with my camera, and the best way to find this is go ahead, set your camera up to the lowest ISO number and record a 2-second, 3-second clip. Once you're done with that, go to the next ISO level, start recording another 2 to 3 second clip, and just so on and so forth to the highest ISO number that your camera allows. Once you're done with that, go ahead and throw it into your editing software, and looking looking at the editing software, the raw video clips or pictures, if you want to do it for photos, look at each one and see where you don't want to go anymore. This is going to be totally personal preference, but you want to go for image quality. You want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough leeway where you can bring in more light and make the exposure proper, but also not too far where you're starting to harm image quality, where you're going to degrade image quality. So for example, my camera goes a lot higher. I actually don't even know the numbers, but I stop it. I have a hard stop at 12,800. Now, 12,800 isn't the best image quality, but when I'm in a pinch, it helps me out. And even with that ISO, I can go ahead and put in a plugin to denoise it, and it still doesn't look as bad. I definitely don't like to use it all the time, but like I said, if I'm in a pinch, my back's up against the wall, I don't have extra lights, I'm okay pushing it that far, but that's my hard limit. I won't go any higher than that. After that, I don't even push it just because the image quality is going to suffer more so, and I won't even be able to use that image or use that video anymore. Reason why I suggest this is there's been so many times that I've been doing a wedding that there's been harsh light, or there's been almost no light during the reception. And so I don't have to think about like, oh, is this too high? Is this too low? Can I push it a little bit more? Because I have that hard stop already there, I know, okay, once I hit 12,800, it won't let me go anymore. I know that's my highest limit. I'm not gonna go any higher than that. I'm gonna figure out what I have to do at that point to bring in more light. And I know it's not gonna be my ISO anymore because I have that hard limit. It's one of those things that when you're in the moment of doing video or doing photos, it's something, one less thing that you have to worry about, and it helps you out while you're in the field. So that is all about ISO. Basically, like I said, the ISO is just the sensitivity of the camera sensor. It's something else, another function that you can control to get that proper exposure in conjunction with shutter speed. But like I said, highly recommend you just keep the ISO as low as possible. But anytime that you're in a pinch, find out your no-go zone for your ISO, so then you don't even have to worry about it, and you know you can use all those ISO levels within that range. And like I said, keep in mind, ISO, anytime that you're raising that number, you're introducing grain, artifacts, or noise, and those two just go in conjunction. You can't really do anything about it, so that's why rule of thumb, always keep the ISO as low as possible. But with that being said, that's ISO, and so far we have shutter speed, ISO, next is going to be aperture. I hope this hasn't confused you guys. If you have any more questions, hit me up down below in the comments and I'll get back to them, and I'll catch you guys on the next one, like I said, for aperture. Peace.